My sister-in-law will probably never speak to me again when she finds out what I did, but I don't care. Why should I? She nearly killed my 8-year-old son, Ricardo. My name is Isabel and I'm 32 years old. My husband, David, 33 years old, has a 26-year-old sister, Crystal, who moved into our house without even asking me. She was laid off from her retail job. Now she bums it in our guest room and has made no progress to move out anytime soon. I wouldn't be so critical about my sister-in-law if she would make an effort to move out. She still has no jobs lined up and David doesn't seem to care that she's living in our house rent-free. She doesn't contribute to the groceries either. The least Crystal does is do some chores around the house here or there, and even then David pays for it. With that money, she goes out and gets drinks with her friends. She needs to grow up fast, but anything I say goes through one ear and out the other. I don't fault my husband for spoiling his sister. Their mother passed away when they were so young, so David helped out his dad. He became a parent to her in some ways. He's a lovely man and I wouldn't want him to change, but he could at least be a little tough on Crystal now and then. Crystal and I rarely got into disputes. I didn't want to get on her bad side just for my husband's sake. This all changed though when I asked her to do one simple favor for me. My husband and I have one son. His name is Ricardo, and he's the light of my life. Unfortunately, we could only have one child because of my husband's health issues, so sometimes we call Ricardo our miracle baby. I asked Crystal one Wednesday if she could do me a favor and pick up Ricardo from school because I was working extra late that day, and I didn't want him to be waiting too late as the school year had just begun and the heat was not doing Texas any favors. My son absolutely adored his aunt, so I knew he would be on his best behavior with her. And I thought she would do great with him. She babysat him a few times while my husband and I went on date nights. Yes, of course, he's in good hands, or so she said. I finished my shift at 3:30 p.m. and I was ready to get on my way home. Crystal had texted me at 2 p.m. claiming she had picked Ricardo up successfully, so I had expected to see the two of them at home. I was wrong. Maybe they went to go get ice cream because of the weather? I called Crystal on her cell phone, but she didn't answer. I waited a few minutes and decided to call her again. She still didn't answer. At this point, I texted my husband to see if he could get a hold of her. He said she wasn't answering his calls either. We both began to worry and the heat did not help. At 5:30 p.m., I had enough. I picked up my phone to dial 911 to report my child missing. Maybe it was a bit extreme, but I hadn't heard from my sister-in-law for over 3.5 hours. Right before I pressed the green button, I heard a car pull up into the driveway. I sighed in relief when I heard two car doors slam shut. I rushed out of my seat and opened the front door with a wide smile, but it quickly fell when I took in what Ricardo looked like. Sweat dripped down the side of his face, his cheeks were red, and his face was swollen. What happened? Honey, are you okay? I raised my hand to his forehead. He was burning up. Yeah, sorry about that. I stopped by my friend Danielle's house to drop off her cell phone. She was blasted the night before at the club. She wasn't doing so well. What's wrong with Ricardo? Well, if you would have let me finish, he must have gotten a little hot while waiting in the car. How long was he alone in the car? A few hours. My bad. He should take a cold bath to cool down. Ricardo, honey, how do you feel? Instead of answering me, he puked on the floor. I began to panic, so I pushed Crystal out of the way and hurried Ricardo into the car. I drove him straight to the hospital. He seems fine now, but there was a high chance that he could have gotten a heat stroke. I thanked the doctor and we were on our way back home when I called David on the phone. You need to talk to your sister. This is unacceptable. What happened? She left our son in her car, burning him up to death. I had to take him to the doctor. They said he was okay, but he could have gotten a heat stroke. How long did she leave him in there for? A few hours, she said. He promised me he would talk to her, but when I got home, David and Crystal were laughing in the kitchen as if nothing was wrong. I sent Ricardo to take a bath so that he could cool off. What's so funny? Oh, nothing. Did you even talk to her? Yeah, of course. Everything is settled. I cannot believe you, Crystal. Relax, he's fine. What else do you want me to say? I've said sorry already. He could have had a heat stroke. His cheeks were bright red. It was an honest mistake. Ricardo's fine. An honest mistake? You have to be kidding me. I couldn't bother to look at either of them and went straight to my bedroom. I could still hear them laughing amongst themselves. It was probably something dumb. That night before bed, I had another talk with my husband. I don't understand how calm you are about this. For crying out loud, let it go. I don't want her living here anymore. What are you talking about? This was just the tip of the iceberg, David. She's been living off us for almost a year, rent-free, without a job. Hell, you pay her an allowance. Now, I can't even trust her to be around Ricardo. I would be more understanding if she actually felt bad, but it appears she doesn't care. She's my little sister. I'm not throwing her to the streets because you're upset. I'm upset for a good reason. We went back and forth for hours. I was not going to win. I avoided Crystal at all costs, and I ensured that Ricardo stayed as far away from her as possible. He didn't mind it, to my surprise. My little one was also peeved at her for leaving him in her car. He was smart like his mom and not spineless like his father. After a couple of weeks went by and my attitude toward Crystal hadn't cleared up, David decided to take matters into his own hands. He made me get all dressed up as if we were going to a double date with Crystal and the guy she recently started dating. The restaurant was very fancy. Her date's name was Todd and he was 25 years old. Crystal was totally smitten. This was only their third date. I tried to play nice with my sister-in-law, but that went out of the window shortly. How was work? Same old, same old. Was she lying to him about work? What else was she lying? I side-eyed my husband, who only gave me a warning elbow to my arm to mind my business. So instead I said, "Yeah, Crystal, how's work going? I have been meaning to ask you." Her eyes widened in shock. Did she really think I was going to go along with her lie without struggle? Well, like I said, same as usual. I forgot. What you did again? I work at a daycare while attending school, silly. Remember? I want to work with children. I love kids. She emphasized, looking at Todd with lovesick eyes. Oh, really? David cleared his throat. Oh, what do you do for work, Todd? Oh, I teach at an elementary school. I hope to teach middle school or even high school in the near future. Well, now I know why she said a daycare worker. He loves kids and, well, I thought she did until Ricardo. As we furthered into the dinner, I realized that she was lying about many things, not just her job, but what school she was going to. Crystal dropped out of college when she was 19. That she did volunteer work. She only leaves her house to party and to hang out with friends. She even lied about loving to watch basketball. I wasn't going to say anything about the matter until she brought up Ricardo. Ricardo and I are super close. I take him to get ice cream. We go to the fair together whenever it's in town. I just love kids. There she goes, lying some more. I'm sure she loves Ricardo, but how would she get him ice cream or take him to the fair? With what money? My husband's? She uses it to go out with her friends. Before I knew what I was doing, I bumped her wine glass, flowing it all over the tablecloth and down the side where Crystal was sitting. I poured it on her lap. Luckily, she had a napkin cover on her thighs, but the wine had seeped through and clung to her skin. I'm sorry. It was an accident. She glared at me before fixing her face for her date. I'll be right back. She headed towards the restroom area where there appeared to be a small line. By the time she gets in there, the wine will be a sticky mess. It serves her right. But I was just getting started. Honey, can you get something special for Crystal at the bar? I feel terrible about the wine. Oh, we can wait for the server to come over. Why don't you go straight to the bar? It'll be quicker since it's busy. Sure. He got up from his seat and I was left alone with Crystal's date, Todd. So how did you meet with my sister-in-law again? Oh, we have a mutual friend. It's kind of a funny story, actually. Her friend Danielle left her phone with Crystal. She dropped it off at her house and we got to talking and hit it off. Oh no, Todd has to be joking. He's the reason why she was caught up? Why my son was sent to the hospital? It wasn't his fault? I couldn't believe Crystal. She lied to me and my husband about what she was really doing at her friend's house, and then went as far as to risk my son's life because of some guy. I had enough. Listen, Todd, I think you sound like a nice guy. My sister-in-law is not a nice girl.
What do you mean?
She doesn't work at a daycare. Hell, she doesn't even have a job.
What? Why would she lie?
She must be embarrassed. You know, the day you two met.
Yeah?
She picked my son for school as a favor. She left him in the car while she was talking with you for over 3 hours. I had to take him to the hospital.
You must be lying. Crystal would never.
I have nothing to gain for lying, but she does. She's been living at my house rent-free and I'm sick of it. I felt a tear burn at the corner of my eye, and it took everything in me not to burst into tears out of anger. He must have believed me because his facial expression had changed. I saw my husband coming back to the table, and I quickly wiped my face off the evidence.
Your wife told me what happened to your son. I hope he's doing alright. Oh, yeah, it was a simple accident. Crystal was dropping off a cell phone at her friend's house. She was distressed over something. He's fine now.
That sealed everything into place for Todd. My sister-in-law came back to the table with a bright smile. Todd kept quiet for a few minutes. When we finished our meals, he excused himself to the restroom. I had a feeling he was going to leave her, so I wanted to add salt to the wound. Honey, we should give the lovebirds some alone time.
I think that's a great idea.
Could you take a picture of the receipt, Crystal, and we can send the money for our share of the food later? I don't think that would be a problem. Thanks for coming out tonight. We left, leaving Crystal alone. In the car, David asked why I had told Todd about the car incident. I told him it just slipped out. As my husband turned onto our street, I took his cell phone. I shut his phone off when I noticed his sister had called him back to back. When we got to the house, I said, "Honey, I noticed your phone is dead. Let me run upstairs and charge it for you." David was paying the babysitter, so he just nodded in my direction. My phone began to buzz off. It was my sister-in-law. She then texted me, "Tom stranded me. Can you come back to pick me up and pay for the bill? David's not answering the phone." I decided to shut my phone off too. Huh, that's what she gets. I scampered back downstairs and insisted we watch a movie before bed. My sister-in-law was arrested for trying to dine in the dash at the restaurant. None of her friends could bail her out of the bill, and she didn't have enough money to pay for it either. She spent the night in jail. It serves her right for almost killing my child and not even feeling sorry about it. Crystal and my husband never found out what happened. Eventually, David grew tired of Crystal's games, and he gave her an ultimatum. She either got a job or she had to leave. Let's say she's making more money than she was last year.